wanting and dedicated and committed to starting to invest in themselves in some way. And so this business, I'm thinking of it less as a coaching business and more of a entity where coaching is one revenue stream, and there's speaking also as a revenue stream. There's a book that I'm set to publish in the summer as another revenue stream, and everything else that follows from there. So like expanding my perspective of like where I'm at right now is I'm expanding my perspective of what a coaching business is from just the one-on-one or group coaching service that I could offer.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to 7 and 8 figures without burning out. Before Purple Circle, I started and scaled several 7 and 8 figure career coaching businesses myself and consulted with 2 career coaching businesses that are now doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or just building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Career Coaching Secrets podcast. Today I'm excited to welcome my guest, Vasam, a life and career coach dedicated to helping young adults navigate quarter-life confusion and gain clarity in their careers, communities, and lifestyles. After transitioning from corporate world, Sai found success in the startup and franchise spaces, where he honed his skills and discovered his true passion. Now he's on a mission to guide others in aligning their work and life with their highest potential. In addition to his coaching work, Sai recently embarked on a new chapter as a full-time teacher in Kansas City. He's also in the process of publishing his upcoming book, Self-Investor, which is set to release this summer. I'm excited to dive into his journey. Welcome to the show, Sai.
Thanks for having me, Rexon, and the team. So I'm excited to dive in and share my journey, share my message, and hopefully help other people, and looking for help myself. So I'm excited to dive in.
It's a pleasure to have you on, Sai. Tell me a little bit more about what inspired you to become a career coach.
Yeah. I was for a little bit of that context has to be understood of I was brought up in this context, in this surrounding, this environment of following the good journey, the path, if you will, the quote unquote the path of getting a good grades in school, getting a good job, going to a good college, having a good relationship, finding a good house, good car, like all these good things. And so I was on that path. And as you alluded to it in the intro, I was in a corporate world and consulting for a year and a half. And though I learned a lot of things in that position, I also experienced some misalignment there. And so that was kind of the first little reflection point for me, where I was like, okay, I could be doing something more aligned. And so that spark in me was, I would say, lit at that time, where I didn't like what I was doing, so I needed to look for something else. And I feel like that's a lot of pivot points that many people have faced, especially career coaches who may be wanting to help other people who are going through that right now. And so for me, so that was the spark. And then as I found that I could have a career that I actually liked with my second job as in a startup, I saw that I could be autonomous. I could have responsibility and accountability, hold other people accountable, see the impact of my work and not just be a cog in a wheel. And that experience allowed me to experience, okay, this is what it feels like to be in a good position, surrounded by great coworkers, all these qualities that I just mentioned. And while I was there, this was in Charlotte, North Carolina. While I was there, I was went to a networking event and was surrounded by a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs. Actually, I went to a conference with about 35 people, and all of them were women. Women are small business owners, whether they were coaches, home organizers, career coaches, maybe like career counselors for high schoolers going into college, nonprofit leaders, etc. And leaders as well. And so that kind of set the ball rolling for okay, I'm surrounded by these people. And once you're surrounded by those certain number of people doing a certain amount of things, you just kind of tend to naturally do those things as well. So Atomic Habits talks about this in James Clear's book about if you want to change, there's a lot of different ways to do that. But one way is to surround yourself with the people who are already doing those things. And so being in that group, being in that community, that conference, but then that set the ball rolling for working in a group course cohort for 3 months to start the business, start getting clients, put this hat on of, okay, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not just an employee, but I'm an owner of my own business. So that set the ball rolling, being surrounded by a community and so that was, so my personal experience in my career, as well as being surrounded by those people who were doing similar things. And then the third thing I would say is, investing in myself, whether it was in that conference, whether it was in the group course, whether it was, and so all these ways that I invested in myself along the way really helped me start this coaching business and continue it right now.
Mm-hmm. And so from the moment that you started it to the moment that you are at today, how does the journey look like as a coach?
It's despite the name, easy mode coaching. Um, it's all sunshine and rainbows. It's, as many business owners will attest, in the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, it's lots of ups and downs. And I think recognizing, understanding that those are natural parts of the journey. It's not going to be this linear growth path. Just like reconciling that, understanding that, because you don't want to really feel it when you're in the middle of it. You're like, oh, why is this not working? I wish it could be better. I wish more leads were coming in. Why did this person ghost me when we had a call booked? Like all these sorts of things that I'm sure many entrepreneurs have faced. And so the journey sort of like right now, I'm actually in a very inflection point right now, where I've coached people through this quarter life crisis moment, working with people, whether it's on the career side or more on the life side. So it just kind of depends on the person and why they want to work with me. But it is now I'm gearing more towards the people who are wanting and dedicated and committed to starting to invest in themselves in some way. And so this business, I'm thinking of it less as a coaching business and more of a entity where coaching is one revenue stream, and there's speaking also as a revenue stream. There's a book that I'm set to publish in the summer as another revenue stream, and everything else that follows from there. So like expanding my perspective of like where I'm at right now is I'm expanding my perspective of what a coaching business is from just the one-on-one or group coaching service that I could offer to the other areas like zones of genius that I feel like I'm in, which writing, speaking, and coaching. So expanding my perspective. So that's where I'm at right now. That's why I really am excited to publish my book, share the message, share my journey with everyone. And so I'm in this inflection point right now.
I really like that you're bringing down into multiple streams of revenue within the same coaching business. Is there a specific group of people that you work with, and like as in like a target audience that you're going after?
Yeah. So for me, I really, and so like this wasn't something I had clarity on from the beginning. And so actually to take you back a little bit, when I was in that 3-month group course, I didn't know what I was going to call myself. Was I a life coach? Was a career coach? I was trying to come up with something very creative and clever. But a lot of times clarity wins over cleverness, especially in marketing. So I was trying to come up with all these like cool names of what I could call myself, what the business could be called, all these things. But I actually didn't have any clients during those 3 months. But it was only after several months of calling myself a coach, even though I didn't have one, it was that the like imposter syndrome. And I felt that for 3, 4, 5 months before I had any clients. And so started reaching out to people. And that's when I really started, okay, when the first dollars hit my bank account, I was like, okay, this is a business now. People are willing to pay me for something. So that growth process was necessary for me to get where I'm at today. And so I feel like I'm going off track. Can you remind me what the question was?
So mostly like what of people are you trying to
Yeah, target
coach
audience.
currently?
That's right. Yeah. So I didn't have clarity at the beginning. So I was like, okay, I want to work with, so I initially had market validation calls with people who were in their 30s, 40s, 50s, like kids or people who had kids, people who are my age, younger than me, college age. So kind of figuring it out because I didn't know who my target audience was. Then I resonated with the person who was in the shoes that I was in. And so the person who was stuck in their job, who felt like they all the check boxes along their life, but now having hit all those check boxes, they look back and the fulfillment or the feeling that they thought they would have, they actually don't have that feeling. And so now they're at this crisis of what do I do now? And so I'm really targeting in, and part of this inflection point now is I'm really targeting in on those people, not just in their careers, but in their overall life, who are really wanting to commit to personal growth. Because there's a lot of stuff out there, for lack of a better term, whether it's coaches, courses, books, podcasts, YouTube videos of ways to help yourself. So the self-help industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry and it's, growing. So the people that I'm working with, that I want to work with, are the people who are starting that journey but don't know where to start. They feel inundated with all these options and they need some sort of framework. I've experimented and I'm empowering other people to also experiment, but in a way that's more intentional than what I've experienced. And so part of it is like, I don't want people to spend tens of thousands of dollars necessarily, willy-nilly, just like, here's 3,000. And so I want to help people be intentional about that path towards their best self. And so that's who I'm really working with. So someone who's coming out of college, maybe a couple years out of college, and realizing, okay, I've tried a few things. Habits have kind of worked. They haven't really. Maybe personal finance is not where they need to be. They've read a few books, but they have trouble implementing something. So a framework and a mindset that could really help their personal growth journey. So that's where I'm at right now. And the career will naturally, my belief is, once you reconcile and adjust those things, the career part of your life will naturally work itself out. And you'll go from what I call from the indifference and tolerance zone of like, okay, like I'm fine doing my job, but it's not the greatest, it's not the best. And actually, I would say the worst place to be is the tolerance in your career. You don't like it, but you're tolerating it. And so the more that goes on, you build resentment, you build this ill will towards yourself, towards a company, towards your peers. But it's kind of like golden handcuffs where you can't get out of it because you've built a lifestyle based off of the income that you're in. And so it's kind of a vicious cycle. And so I people to go from this indifference and tolerance zone to either loving their job or hating their job. And then once you're in one of those polar opposites, you can really double down if you love it. Or if you hate it, then that's your clarity. Then you can move from there to, okay, I know what I don't want. Can I now move closer to what I do want? So those are the sorts of people that I work with.
And where do you find this audience? What channel seems to work better for you?
Yeah, so as far it's mostly been referrals, word of mouth. As you know, like coaching is very trust based. And especially what I found is like the target market that I'm working with is first personalized investment more often than not. And it's the audience is used to spending maybe tens, maybe hundreds of dollars on something to help themselves, which books $20, a course maybe $50, $100, right? So maybe a conference or a workshop for $50, $100. And so, but it's usually not more than a couple $100, $300, even if it's like a mini retreat that they go to. And so they're capped there, but they don't know what's on the other side of if they spend $2,000 for 3 months or 3,000 and so on, right? And it's very big sticker shock value, right? And when they have that feeling, it's like the time I invested like at that level, it was $3,600 over 3 months for that 3-month group course cohort of like 8 to 10 people. And so that was a little bit more decision time than if I was buying a book at Barnes and Noble, right? And so referrals, word of mouth, because it's very trust based. And then now I'm starting to dive more into LinkedIn and social media. So more short form content on social media. So TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. And then I would say the people who are, TikTok is I haven't had a client come through TikTok yet, but I imagine my house is that's where a lot of the clients are, where they're, because people who are in their 21, 23, 25, they haven't most likely built the habits on LinkedIn. Like their social media habits are not usually on LinkedIn. Usually LinkedIn has been, it's a place to post where they're, I got a new job, I graduated, I'm switching jobs, some sort of big moment that they post. And maybe they lurk, follow a few people that they, read and etc. But most of their consumption habits are on, the short form content. And so I'm not doing I want to be on LinkedIn. And I also recognize that a lot of video, YouTube is the second largest search engine, right? So YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, wherever people find me, whatever their social media of choices, I want people to be able to, okay, Sai's here, he's on LinkedIn, whether people like writing, they want to hear my voice, whatever it is. So that's my strategy right now. And then now going forward, the book is also going to be a big to that and that. So imagine book is going to be a big like lead magnet, if you will, to bring in a larger audience. And then obviously everything that surrounds the book.
Totally. The that you're following on social media is kind of fresh, right? It's not seen the results yet, but generally at the beginning is mostly referrals. So good to know that. And what are some future goals that you have that you're working towards for the next 1 to 3 years, apart from the book, which is coming this summer? And you mentioned also doing multiple streams of revenue within the same coaching business. How does that play into the goals for the next 1 to 3 years?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, so right now, the last 6, 9, 12 months, my main priority from this business lens has been the book. So writing it, publishing it, going through that process. Outside of that, one of the main goals is to become a better speaker, better communicator. And so I invested in myself, which should not be a surprise at this point, since my book is about that. And in a course, also a group cohort, to actually not become a better communicator person, that wasn't the main intention, but to unleash and really embody my authentic self and my dark masculine. And so actually showing up with power, actually showing up with great energy and resonance when I talk to people, when I'm teaching in the classroom, when I'm writing something where no one's watching, but I'm still present. So that goal really is helping me establish my voice and use my voice to become a better speaker. So that's one of the big goals I have is speaking, being on podcasts, speaking on stages. So I've had the opportunity to do that over the last few months as well. And I feel so alive when I'm on stage. And not just when I'm the only one, I actually feel even better when it's a conversation, when it's me, someone else, and maybe even a third person, where we can riff off of each other. There's a little bit of time for me to pause and think. I can even ask questions. So a big goal for me is to continue being on stages where there's an audience of young adults who are hungry to better themselves in some way and are looking for that guide, that mentor, that resource, that tool to invest in some way, time, money, or energy. So speaking is a huge goal for me in the next 1 to 3 years, and hopefully beyond as well. And then on a personal note, I this is a good podcast, but I think we all have personal lives as well, and I would be remiss if I didn't say I'm also working towards a relationship. I'm in one right now, and I want to continue to strengthen that as well. And it can seem like when we compartmentalize our life, that's like, okay, business over here, book over here, my health over here, relationships over here. But obviously they're all interconnected. And having a great relationship, having a great partner, having a great supporter, and being able to talk with them, whether it's in your down moments or celebrate with you in your high moments, that is me a level of emotional vulnerability, emotional connection, and intelligence that I didn't have when I was building these things individually. And so that actually helps my coaching, that helps my speaking, that helps me share what I'm feeling and express those way better than I would have before. And so that goal there is become a better boyfriend and maybe hopefully go to the future stages there as well. And so that's a big goal that just impact me and my business, but also impacts my partner, that also impacts our families potentially. So those are the few big goals that I have in the next 1 to 3 years.
Well, I really love those, and I really like the holistic approach there as well. And congratulations on taking steps onto the relationship as well. Yeah. So when it comes to investments, what resources or support has been most valuable for you in growing your coaching business?
Yeah. So there's different things at different stages that I would say have been helpful. And I wouldn't recommend all of them at once, right? If you're starting out, I don't think investing necessarily thousands of dollars into something that is that is more geared towards a business model that you don't necessarily have yet is going to help, right? So like I would actually start small with those investments of, okay, starting to listen to podcasts, not just one person, but having a variety of people that you at least trust inherently based off of their success, what they're saying. Other people have referred you content or their book or their podcast to you. So it's like, oh, there's so my and a couple other people at the time, like a few years ago, recommended Alex Hermosi when he was not as big as he is now. And so I was like, okay, let me go through his acquisition.com course, like the free one online, and then bought the book last year. So like that's a free and very low cost $10, $20 book. I think it's like $1 if you get it on ebook, right? And so like very low cost resources. And then as you're trying to find clarity, investing in other people, but from like a market validation standpoint. So we don't necessarily think of that as an investment. I was like, oh, it's like a checkbox to do as growing a business, but you're actually you're becoming more informed about how to grow the business. And so it's like, okay, I'm going to talk to a variety of people. So whether it's 20 for me, for example, so I'll talk to a 20-year-old who's still in college, maybe a 25-year-old who's 3 years out, maybe 20-year-old, 22-year-old who's about to be a graduate, maybe a 35-year-old who's been through a lot of these phases and changes, and maybe regrets / celebrations that they've had, and what they would have told their former self. And so to identify those ways of providing those things that their younger self would have liked. So conversations with people actually provides a lot of clarity. Investing in action, I would also say is a big thing. I was actually talking with one of my clients, but then also like she's a friend, and yes, 2 days ago, yesterday, and she reminded me of something I said to her, and it was very good advice to me for me to hear when she said it back, which was that clarity comes from action. And so we can theorize and think about all the things that could work, but until you actually invest the time, money, and energy into trying those things, experimenting, iterating on them, then you actually have the results to base your hypothesis off of. And so you need those results, you need to take action. So starting small, using other people, leveraging other people, their knowledge, their experiences, and then to get into actual tools and other things that I've used. So definitely once you're ready to invest hundreds, thousands of dollars into personalized service, that's when I saw the greatest growth as well. And so, okay, working with a business coach to help me build the mindset of, okay, I can post content all day long, but if I'm not actually connecting with people, so using content as a conduit for connection, then who's actually seeing my stuff? Who's actually resonating with what I have to say? And so using the content as a way to, it's like, oh, I see a couple of people have liked or engaged with my content, whether short form or LinkedIn or wherever else. And oh, I do like that. Let me DM them. Let's start a conversation so we can build a genuine connection. And that starts to build that trust. So, but working with an individual coach is valuable because they to see not just what you're doing and under the hood of the business itself from a logistics and technical standpoint, but also your mindset. And I would, that's one of the big things I'm sure that a lot of career coaches focus on. Of course, there's, the resume writing, the LinkedIn profile, all the technical aspects of it, what I think as of assets of us, but then there's the skills or the mindsets that you're bringing in and inculcating that they're able to see that, they're able to recognize your blind spots and be like, okay, Sai, you have a block of how much you feel like you're worth because you're charging not enough for your service. Or Sai, you have a block right now, you have this belief, I don't know where it's coming from right now, but we can dig into that, of not wanting to message people individually or ask for the sale directly. So that's lowering your ability to not close sales, but actually have people come through the funnel. So addressing those root causes and those beliefs, the action actually comes from the belief. So whatever we believe, we'll take those actions to reinforce our belief. And so if we can, those coaches who are good at what they do, they will get to the belief of what we have, understand those experiences, why we've them in the past, and address them, and then move forward with, okay, what's the new belief in this vacuum, in this space that we've set? Now we can plant this new seed and we can see this new plant bloom and blossom into something great.
Yeah, totally. And is there something that you wish you had known when you first started your scaling your coaching business? Is there like an unexpected lesson learned?
Yeah. So I was I was a little cocky and arrogant when I still have some arrogant tendencies. My may agree with that. But when I was leaving when I was in my job at the startup, I had a meeting with the HR person, the director, and it was like a normal checkup. I was like, hey, how's job going? Are there any changes that you would like to see to make our culture better? Your responsibilities, job itself, etc. And like, where do you see yourself in the next 1, 3, 5 years? Like how much, like if you were offered your dream job, like how much would it have to pay to, you know, leave, so that, from the HR perspective, how can we keep the talent here, right? So all logical questions. And I said at the time, so this is before I started my coaching business, I said at the time that I think that position that I was in would be the last time that I would ever work for someone else. And I felt confident about that, overconfident, it turns out. And I I ended up starting the coaching business, writing, etc., and then left that full-time job to pursue coaching full-time and moved back home. So which is where I'm at right now. I wanted to, go all in on coaching, and it grew a little bit in 2024, but not at the level that I wanted to. And so I need to make, I needed bills to pay and wanted some level of income and stability. And especially in a relationship, I wasn't just thinking about myself anymore. I was thinking about the future with the two of us and potentially more. So unexpected lesson is right now I'm in teaching job at a high school. And so I thought when I left my job that I would never work for anyone again. But there is a level of stability, security, and money freedom that does come from having some sort of, whether full-time or freelancing part-time roles, like other additional income streams that are not related to your coaching business, to make it so that the coaching business still stays as something fun and engaging for you versus, okay, it's my job, and you didn't just trade your old job for something else that it's actually like also draining you. So something I wish I'd known when I started is, okay, it's okay to be in a full-time position, part-time positions as you're building a business, because it can take time, and it's not going to be this exponential growth that everyone wants it to be all the time. There's going to be ups and downs, and maybe if you zoom out, it may be like that, but may not always be the case. And so I wish I had known, say, okay, yes, you can go all in, experiment with that, and see what entrepreneurial lifestyle is like, with amazing amount of time, freedom, and ability to have meetings and a lot of times do whatever, whenever. But there's also another side to the coin of okay, you can pursue your coaching business as a passion when there is something else that is the rock in the foundation.
Yeah, I really like the fact that you said that you want to have that extra stream of revenue so that the doesn't feel like a draining job. And eventually, as the coaching business grows, then you'd have to probably still go and focus all in on it. But yeah, I like that you're getting the job on the side to support the growth of the business at beginning stage. So what are some of the biggest challenges that you've faced in scaling your coaching business or that you're still facing today?
Yeah. One thing is, I would say, a little bit of pressure from people around me of like, okay, like, especially for people who have never built business before, it can be like, okay, when is it going to grow? When is it going to get to the level of like a full-time income that can support yourself and other people that you're used to in their job? So like the surrounding me, it's not overbearing all the time, but it's every now and then, especially when I'm living at home, there can be a little bit of pressure there. So that's like from the external standpoint. From the actual business side itself, shiny object syndrome, of like, ooh, what about this? What about that? And my partner will say like, hey, like I've a few things that I haven't seen all the way through. And that's actually one of the big things, like one of my themes for this year is again and again. So it's like, okay, show up for something and then show up again and again and again and again and again and again. So whether it's like a journaling group that I started, it's just a couple of us, not anything huge yet. Person, I get to connect with 1, 2 other people on a weekly basis, and I've showed up every week that I've been in town here. And so it's like showing up consistently. And whereas in the past I'd be like, okay, there's enough growth, and so I'm gonna shift to something else. There's a lot of value in sticking through with something, even if it may not be working in the short term. Like zooming out, it's like, well, I'm building and so it comes from a different intention, I would say. Instead of experimenting, it's more of I'm building my muscle of commitment. I'm building my muscle of consistency. So even if like I've already committed mentally and emotionally to showing up every week for time that I'm in Kansas City for the journaling group. And whether it's just me, whether it's 10 people, whether it's 1,000 people, I will continue to show up. And there's actually a lot of freedom that comes in that, where it's like, I don't have to think about if I'm going to go or not, or how many people are going to come and all these things that it may affect my mood. It's like, well, it's on the calendar. I'm going. I've already booked the room. The challenges I've faced have been, and I'm still working through right now, so it's still a current challenge, is the consistency. I would say I'm still not there yet of like, I think written content on LinkedIn, I'm at a good place, a good routine system for that right now. The video of it, there's obviously, extra layers of that when there's video editing that takes a little bit more time, et cetera. So there's a little bit of more friction with that. So that's one challenge I'm facing, where I don't mind for short form content. That's not an issue, but then editing it, maybe working with an editor, obviously there's the financial side of that. So that's the consistency of it is one challenge. And then I would say the marketing is, that's a very big topic. But it's like you get someone to trust you, and it shouldn't be like a necessarily that you're like strategizing around. What I'm shifting more towards is like, I don't need the perfect system per se to attract leads. My perspective is I'm going to continue focusing on myself. Am I showing up the best way that I can? Am I really authentically saying the things that I feel and mean? And when people feel that energy, they will be attracted to me in some way, and they will work with me, whether it's buying the book, joining a group, working with me one-on-one, whatever that way is. And so I'm leaning more into, okay, what is my energy in every particular setting? Am I being present in every situation? And then from there, people will show up and people will be attracted, because I really, the world, the universe is really based off of energy. And so what is the energy that I'm bringing? Are a lot of my blocks cleared / resolved, or at least resolving? And am I showing up fully? And if I'm showing up fully and present and 100% myself every conversation situation, then people will be attracted to me. The right people will be attracted to me at the right time in their life.
Yeah. And I also wanted to ask, do you think that at this stage in time, are you facing, when it comes to the business itself, the coaching business, are you facing Are you facing, for example, lead generation issues or like getting constant leads, or is that something that doesn't really worry you because at this point you also have the full-time job to support you on the side?
Yeah, so like, transparently, the one-on-one coaching that I provide has been a little bit of a backseat in terms of my overall priorities and just with the time and energy management. And the book has taken a little bit higher priority. And one of the reasons for that is I was to people who had never invested in themselves, or their cap was 2 figures or maybe even 3 figures. And I was providing a service that was 4 figures. And so, and the first time they're investing in themselves at that level. I mean, that can be great if you're like, you want to push yourself. So, but, and the people who are starting their personal growth journey are more likely going to be buying things, investing in themselves in 2 figures, maybe 3 figures. And so the book is obviously, a 2 figure investment, and it's very asset based. It can scale, very easily. And it has my content, my ideas in one place. Obviously, you can set up funnels and uh, marketing strategies and tactics based off of the book into website, email newsletters, coaching, etc. So, so that's been one of the shifts for me. It's like, why am I the book right now over the last 6 months, 12 to the one-on-one coaching? Um, and because since I am at this inflection point I mentioned, there may be a slightly different audience that I'm targeting based off of who resonates with the book compared to who I've been working with previously.
How do you handle currently the balance between having a full-time job, having your coaching business, writing your book, and still delivering great client results? I know you said you kind of slowed down so that you don't have to overbook on yourself on one-on-ones, but is that the strategy or how does it work?
Yeah, so I think one of my strengths, I would say, is adaptability. I can like lean into, okay, like right now, this quarter I'm gonna reprioritize this quarter I'm gonna deprioritize this. So from a balancing standpoint, I'm viewing my full-time job as almost a mini. So I was a virtual at a high school, and it's about 10 to 15, 20 students per class, 6 of those. And so there is a lot of things, a lot of skills that are relevant and transferable from teaching in the classroom to coaching. And so what I'm viewing this as is a stable to make income while still continuing to improve my overall coaching skill set. And going from a skill set, so my style, I would say, one of my styles from coaching standpoint was more asking questions, listening, being there, a little bit more on the therapist side. I'm not trained in, professionally trained as a therapist or anything, but a little bit more on that side. Asking challenging questions when necessary, of course, and pushing them. But it was like more, okay, let's look at the past. Let's identify these blockers, these beliefs, these mindsets. Teaching has shown to me that I really love the actual act of teaching something, where I love going through the steps, the process, and math is very technical. And so like going through the technical stuff, but then also, okay, how can we apply this you see on the whiteboard and on a piece of paper right now into the real world? And so talking about a very specific subject technically, but also very relatably has been a great challenge, but also a great source of fulfillment and a great source of growth that I can then use in coaching. And so I see myself leaning more into this teacher educator sort of coach where the content and the topic may differ over time. So right now in the classroom, it's math, but over time when I'm speaking or in workshops or whatnot, the topic just changes from math to how to invest in yourself when you're 22 years old coming out of college. So the topic changes, but the skills are very transferable. And so from a balancing standpoint, the business itself, I'm not taking as many one-on-one clients, but in a sense, I have 6, small group classes, small group cohorts, right? And so that's a way to view these transferable skills and how I'm growing my coaching business, not just from a client perspective, but from a overall skill development standpoint.
Yeah. Is there any aspect of running your coaching business that would figuratively keep you up at night?
Yeah, is it gonna work? Like, will this work to the level of time, money, energy, freedom that I want it to? And so, like, this big picture vision that I have is, yes, I don't work for anyone else necessarily. I want to be able to write and publish books. I want to have a few one-on-one clients, maybe a group course, more speaking about topics and teaching topics that I really resonate with. So so like, is this going to work long term? So that like does creep in every now and then. But there's also a level of surrender and peace I feel with that. Where, like, I'm 28, and so like I see a lot of people around me who are really hitting their stride when they're 30, 35, 40, 45, and they have these years and years of experience in the corporate world or wherever they have been for the past 10, 15, 20 years of their working life. So they have that step ahead, if you will. And so I have to remind myself that I'm it will be about 7 years since I've graduated undergrad, and I remind myself, like, I'm 7 years old, and it's like that's kindergarten grade age. It's like I'm still a baby, if you will. I'm still learning a lot of things, and it's easy to compare to the people who have built 200K, 300K, who have had a corporate network and built that over 10, 15, 20 years, who are doing maybe something similar, and maybe even compare with the people who are the same age or have been doing it at the same time and maybe more successful, less successful. Yeah, so it's easy to fall into that comparisonitis, and so that's the thing that does keep me up. But I'm really leaning into surrender. I was like, okay, let's fill this space, or let's empty the space out. Let's vacuum it and let's clear it, and let's see what the universe brings in. And a lot of times it's better than what we had anticipated or expected in the first place.
Yeah. And I think it's a word that resonates with a lot of career coaches that are building their business at this point. They're in the starting phase. But living proof of that it works is a lot of other coaches that have made it through, sometimes even without that network from the corporate. So as a closing question, I wanted to ask you, what advice would you give to other coaches looking to scale their impact that might be around your level?
Yeah, good question. So people who are maybe a couple years in, and on the large scale of things, like starting out, that this is a long-term journey, if that's what I believe. So for example, one of the mindsets I had was I would try to have short-term solutions for something that was actually a long-term problem. So I would try to have short fix, like, oh, like I need to like launch something, I need to come out with something, I need to like send a lot of messages, and then like I retreat. It's like very waves, very inconsistent. So going back to the consistency theme for myself this year. And so it's okay to take the decision that you would from a long-term perspective. Okay, like if this business is really something I want to be doing 5, 10, 15 years from now, what are the steps that I'm taking right now where I'm not sacrificing stuff in the term? And so I would really challenge people, and I'm talking to myself right now too. I'm challenging myself, challenging other people who are listening. Are the decisions that you're making, are they short-term decisions or are they long-term decisions? And align them. If it's short-term, great. Go all in, do the thing that's for 3 months, launch it if that's what you want. If this is a business that you want 10, 15 years from now, then what are the systems? Who are the people? How are the approaches that you're taking that will help you build gradually over time, rather than be a quick fad and then drop back down, right? You don't want these like very high amplitude waves and then just as large valleys. And then I'd rather, okay, like I'm stable here, then next level, let's get comfortable here, then build that up, and then get stability there, and then build that up. Really challenging people to think about what is the time period of decisions that you're making and where is that coming from.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And For anyone who wants to find you, they can find you at Sai Vasam on LinkedIn or Sai V. They'll find you at saivasam.com on your website. Looking forward to also you publishing your book. Maybe we'll have another episode when you do that. And thank you, Sai. It was a lovely episode.
I appreciate it, Rexon. I'm excited. Yes, find me on saivasam.com, Saivasam on LinkedIn. The book will be published and released on the website as well. There's a page up already if you want to pre-order, etc. But this was an amazing chat. Thank you for the opportunity and hope it was valuable for anyone listening.
You're welcome. It was my pleasure.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe to YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This conversation was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to 7 and 8 figures without burning out. To learn more about Purple Circle, our community, and how we can help you grow your business, visit joinpurplecircle.com.